It's time to deck the halls with questions and answers. We get to our annual Q&A on this week's episode of the Pink Bar Report podcast. Episode number 354 of the Indie Bar Report podcast is here, and it is time for the 8th annual question and answer. And we have 27 questions. We will try to get you 27 answers. And in a way, 27 is kind of the magic number because you need that many outs to end a game. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do a perfect game today.
Yeah. You've got better odds of seeing a perfect game in the Pioneer League than you do here. So yes, we have the Q&A this week. Ryan's dying of flu. I'm healthy as an ox, which means I'm almost certainly going to catch typhoid now. And yeah, I feel pretty good right now. I feel like we've made it through another year because I am now realizing this is also the last episode of 2025. We got a fun little way of ending the year. So
I'd say I'm proud of us, but well,
no one should be proud of this.
Yeah, no.
Hey, we got one team to promote the show this year too, so that's great.
Go us.
Thanks, Sussex. And on that note, we'll start the Q&A because this has been a fantastic start to the year. This is what happens when we don't have an hour-long free show. It's just this like...
I know. I had to cut everything. I've ruined their whole vibe this week by being sick.
And speaking of killing vibes, we'll talk about question number 1. Why don't you have Shep on more? Because Shep's too busy sitting in a pizzeria all day to talk to us.
If I allow someone to come on in a more recurring way, that comes very close to being a co-host. And if Shep was the co-host, what would that make me? Will? What are we doing?
You don't work in baseball like Will.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Pain.
Next question. Who is your favorite league office person to talk to, and why is it Shep? I like Josh Schaub quite a bit, Shep.
I enjoyed that conversation as well. I wouldn't accuse anybody of asking or sending questions. However, it does. I'm starting to get some suspicions as to where some questions are coming from. I hope all 27 are like this. Need that.
The call is coming from the Midwest.
Right.
We'll have conversation at some point. Next one up here. This is the first real question, admittedly. If you became the PBL commissioner tomorrow, what is your 100-day plan to get the ship back afloat? I'm going to respond to this on the pod the same way I respond to it when I got it in the DMs, which is essentially that scene from The Departed where Leo's getting a couple of pills and he goes, 2 pills, great. Why don't you just get me a bottle of scotch and a handgun to blow my brains out? Because that's what 100 days is. It's enough for me to blow my brains out, I guess.
I think, God. So I think oh, God. Yeah. Okay. Where do we begin?
Yeah. I mean, the more productive answer is in 100 days. I mean, you have enough time to take a full audit of the league and get a better gauge of things. And again, this is all supposed you had a lot more authority than you actually did have. Because there's a lot of hurting cats
actually get in there and right. If running the league was just telling the teams how they had to operate and who was around anymore, but there's the various contracts and
and political plays here. Who can you afford to piss off? Who can you not afford to piss off? That whole kind of thing here. Realistically, with that said, I think really you take the first 100 days and you just decide on a vision and say, we're going to go in this way for certain or that way for certain. You try to get an audit done in the first 30 of them. So that way you can have a actual gauge on where to go and what direction you want to take.
Yeah.
It's an awkward thing because the correct place to be at almost, right, is taking a more, a lower level role, I suppose, where you can manage the costs more effectively. Because realistically, the operational cost is what's killing the Pioneer League. You can survive a lot of the other stuff. If the cost was just lower, now substantially lower, I'm not talking 5-10%, I'm talking 20-25% here lower, then you wouldn't have much of an issue here. you can
Right.
go ahead and survive a lot of the stupidity here. You can map it out a little bit better. I would almost say the approach I would try to start to implement here, because again, 100 is just enough time to start to implement something or start to create a plan to implement something.
Mhm.
I would almost say I want to create 3 separate leagues that work within each other and then feed into one central point here. And by that, I mean essentially a more freestanding divisional structure. Think MLB prior to interleague play, where you just have, say, a west, a south, and a north section that will play each other pretty much self-contained, maybe a little bit of crossover in there. We cut out any sort of all-star festivities that really is not in the budget. And we all know the struggle that is selling the all-star game and making that work. Let's just take that burden away from the teams. From there, I'm just really try to see what we can do about further bulk buying, further, joint ventures that could help bring down the cost here. Really, that is the value of the giant league structure here. It's just how much can you get a better deal on to handle this, and how much can we subcontract out to a third party in exchange for some kind of advertising, right? So that is kind of the direction I would take it. Admittedly, again, that's an easy concept to have. It's a much more difficult thing to implement.
Yeah, because I think the hard truth of it is the first thing we got to do is, and this is again somebody who's I've expressed this before. I'm hesitant to cut professional baseball loose out of markets. It's why I have many issues with private equity, but I think some hard decisions probably need to be made about what teams are in that league and what teams probably need their time to wrap up, and then set a true standard across all the teams of, the expectation, because there are some very well-run teams here. So how can we sort of zero in on that? I guess in short, yeah, it's paring down what is happening here, which is sort of a sloppy, start and stop sort of plan forward, this weird march they've been doing out west. And it's fine, commit to that, but if you're going to do that and also have like your most successful organization be in Montana, it's going to be figuring out how you can start to work through that. So yeah, probably splitting them into almost two distinct divisions, like you said, I think would be best. You're saying 3, I'm honestly saying 2, because I think they need less teams currently while they figure out what the hell's going on out there.
That's a fair point. I'm just trying to think in terms of if you wanted to keep everybody around. And I feel as though there are markets in the more southern part, maybe Arizona, New Mexico, that would work out. Plus, if you're going to have Long Beach, you need something that can make a South Division out of Long Beach. You can't have them constantly going up to the Bay Area. That's just going to be
right
too much here on an expense perspective.
I mean, if you're looking for what would I do with 100 days that I feel like could make a difference, I would probably go back on the Long Beach thing. Yes, exactly.
That's fair.
But I also get too, right. So that means the footprint out west right now is, without Long Beach, is Oakland, Yuba, Modesto, which creates the awkward issue of one of those California teams has to be on the road basically at all times.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem with 3.
It's the short answer is I don't think 100 days will. I think it's just simplifying what they're doing out there. I think, and picking a vision and sticking to it.
Going on to the next question here. You had access to Home Team Network last season. How were the broadcasts? Did the promised recaps and extra content happen? This, again, it felt like early in the season they were really working through a lot of stuff, which, in fairness, new system going to happen.
Yep.
As the year went on, I felt like the broadcasts were pretty solid. That being said, there's also a certain level on this level of baseball and just overall business that you're going to get or not get. You're still dealing with a minor league entity, so you're never going to get like MLB level graphic packages or production value. That being said, the multi-camera angles definitely happened. The recaps I more saw on YouTube for free, so that was nice. You could definitely check those out there. That's where I get a lot of my clips for the videos and stuff. Additional content off the top of my head, I don't recall. I could go back and check now to see if there's any up there, but I don't really recall it. I certainly didn't watch any of it, if that were the case. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see much additional content. I did see some highlight things on YouTube. I'm trying to think.
I mean, there is an
audio,
MVP spotlight here for Calarco, I'm noticing, but that's really the only.
which I like. That was cool.
Yeah,
but definitely, it took a while for everybody to get on the same page and get moving sort of with that. The purpose of the move was to sort of raise the floor for these broadcasts, and I think it did that. Just took a little while, which is probably what I would expect from these other leagues as well.
Yeah. If the heart of the question is, do you think home team is a worthwhile service? For now, I'd say yes. I think it depends on how much the total cost of each of these individual subscriptions adds up to.
100%, yeah.
So if you're a fan of just like one league in particular, like let's just say you were just a straight Atlantic League fan, you didn't care about anything else, for the cost of the one Atlantic League package, probably worth it. If you were a fan of like 3 or 4 leagues and you're paying $15 a month for each of them, maybe you pick and choose.
Yeah, I agree completely with that.
Next question here. Why has the American Association stopped their boasting about being the top league? In 2023 and 2024, it seemed to be a daily claim and or challenge. 2025 had total silence on the topic. What changed?
Who sent that in?
Could go back and try to find it, but
Dude, he's the man.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, frankly, I think it's obvious that they're not the top league. And
I think it's a mixture of that and a change in their whole marketing approach.
The change in the marketing approach too. I think I think they did it for a little while and they realized maybe that's not the path to success, being like, we're the most serious indie league ? Like, I don't know. Also, once you're a partner league, you kind of do lose that. Like, what are we doing? Because I was initially clowning on the Atlantic League for doing the practice, the test rules. But it's like, okay, once you partner with MLB, even if you're not doing the rules, I mean, that's weird to then like sort of backhand clown another league for their type of partnership with MLB. So I think that's a part of it. I think, I don't know. I'm still, I just started the process of working the numbers on what the league equivalency is. I think the American Association fell a little further behind the Atlantic League this year. There's little things that stick with me if you're trying to contextualize the issues that the American Association's having keeping up. Obviously it comes back to roster restrictions, but it's the feedback I get from people who make the move on the operations side, the baseball operations side, from the American Association to the Atlantic League is they're like, it's like night and day when it comes to what recruiting is like. And they talk about how in the American Association, most of the time it's like hunting. And in the Atlantic League, it's like they're, deer show up in your yard. Like they want to come to you. And it's turning people away. So that's just a few people's opinion, but I mean, it's been pretty consistent and that's sort of been my thing. I never loved them doing that sort of repeated challenging, and because I always said like, careful what you wish for type of thing. And I also don't like the attacking between leagues because of the whole idea of, rising tides raise all ships. Like, what are we doing here, guys? So yeah, I have been happy to see that sort of change over time as well.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add on that. Again, it just seems like they took a different approach, because I saw the current one was, indifferent here. I do wonder if anyone stepped in to try and correct that or not, but I think it was just more an internal decision.
I agree with that.
Will the Pioneer League become 2 separate leagues, one in California and one in their pre-Cali expansion footprint, or worse, a Pecos League 2 division format that doesn't cross over and only meets with the championship series? We were just discussing that.
I know, and I gotta tell you, I think that's the better option.
Yeah,
frankly. That's
the thing. Like, here's the thing. I understand the appeal of, like, it's a small league, just keep the interplay, do all that. But I genuinely believe the travel expense is one of the biggest killers for them. If they could just cut that down, that's one of the few areas that they genuinely have control over, that they could reduce the spending on. And I feel like it's foolish to not at least look into that as a serious
100%.
possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes to it, they are, it has to be something. Because if you're also looking toward further expansion, there has to be some sort of plan in order to normalize the travel schedule. And because it seems like what's it going to be? It's going to be about 50-50, it seems like, once they land here, with solid markets that they already had, and then the California markets they're sticking with. So what else would we expect them to do with that? You know what I mean? I think that's the most logical path forward. And while I am saying, yes, I agree, I don't love, well, I guess I would rather two divisions that never play each other till the end, like the old school AL/NL, than this weird unbalanced schedule thing where not everyone's playing the same schedule, but they're all competing in the same division standings. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's the one thing. If you are going to do it, you got to have them at least separated by that. But as far as the probability of them doing something like that, I don't see it being something that's going to happen, at least in the immediate future.
Yeah, fair.
I do think they should, though. I agree with that. Next one up here. If the Jackals make the playoffs, where will they play? Was it the difficult school board reacting to the owner, Dorso, or the existence of the team?
My understanding, they'll play at Sussex. I mean, we've already seen it. Yeah, it's already happened.
Well, that was when they had the same owner. I think now that the point he's trying to make is they don't have the same owner anymore.
Yeah, I still think it's not while I think a lot of the issues have been about the owner, I do think a lot of it's also, it circles back to just the way the contract's written up. That is primarily a stadium owned by the district, and they get to schedule their stuff as the primary resident of that stadium, which is it's a bizarre setup, man. I mean, hell, again, I've talked to PJ about times when they couldn't go out and start their warm-ups pregame because there was cricket wrapping up. Like, it's a weird arrangement there.
Yeah, I think ultimately they'd either have to go to Sussex or they may go to Rockland if need be, if the schedule forced that. Maybe they'd have a little bit more leeway in being able to get the venue, being that, was it Abaye, who owns the team now, is heavily connected with Hinchcliffe, so maybe that's a better relationship. And depending on the time where they'd be playing the playoff game, they may be able to get that game there and just have to work around what's already existing. That's a possibility too. My assumption would be, though, that they would probably get sent to a different location. But luckily for us, it does not look like the Jackals are going to be in that position. So,
yeah, I think they're safe for now.
Moving on, next one here. Does the Frederick franchise still exist? This is starting to look like Attain is holding on to something, or holding on for something to happen, and the Atlantic League doesn't appear to care.
I mean, I think it's cooked. That's an affiliated team now. So,
well, I think it's less the Frederick franchise, but more the franchise itself, like the entity.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that Aberdeen is not seen as an option really for the Atlantic League. Apparently,
yeah.
That's interesting. I would still keep an eye on it, but I don't know. I think it's, because I guess that would be really what the question really is do we think Aberdeen's a potential option?
That, I think the other part of that is that franchise still active? Like, that spot in the league still actively floating around, and just that spot in the league is on hiatus until it lands somewhere.
Yeah,
does
and now
still own a spot in the Atlantic League is the question.
Right. That's what interests me the question would then be, did they? I don't know how they even technically worked, because there was questions around that whole deal. Was it temporary? Was it not? Did they own something? Did they not?
People had much differing opinions on that. Right.
Part of my questioning on some of this too comes back to, so, there's a spot gets opened up in the league so that it can be purchased by an owner, right?
Yes.
I would not put it past the Atlantic League to definitely be a fan of the move where they're quick to, like, oh, that spot's gone now. Like, that's happened before of like Bridgeport leaves or whatever, like one team is gone and you think another team just buy in their spot. And they're like, well, no, that's actually, you're buying a new spot. It's like a whole like shuffling shell game of who owns what and where the money goes, which does the potentially there's rumors that it has to do with, does the money go to the owners? Does the money go to the league? Which is, I don't know if that's changed at all. So I'm not speaking on expertise there, but there's a lot that goes into the question of what's an active franchise and what is not. So I'll give you that's the non-answer answer there.
Mm.
But I would suspect no.
Yeah, I would imagine they probably more or less foreclosed the franchise, being that it's been dormant for as long as it has.
Right.
And that's assuming a team even wants to keep the thing.
Right. And they're no longer doing the whole,
Yeah.
they did the announcement like, oh, we're going to not, I'm losing the word here, but they're on hiatus. Like they didn't really do that announcement again this year. So I think,
yeah,
they're on their own thing.
Mm. Next one here. How many franchises are turning a profit? It can't be too many. Are the current models sustainable?
All right. Interesting. Let's see. So
before you get to the actual number here in your mathematics, I want to throw out my guess.
Okay.
I believe that it's going to be among like the 50 or so main league teams. 15.
All right. Where should we start here? Atlantic League seems like the most straightforward option.
Okay.
I know Hagerstown turns a profit. So I would say Hagerstown, Charleston, York, Lancaster, Long Island, though I'm not overly confident in Charleston. And I'm not saying it's a healthy one. I would say like Lancaster, Long Island, and Hagerstown are probably the three where I'm like, yeah, they're clearing.
Yeah.
But that's just on vibe. That's on what their attendance numbers are, what I've heard it cost to keep their ballpark open for a night, things like that. I think there's no chance Lexington is with the cost to run that ballpark night in, night out. So it's a huge ballpark. High Point is a question mark. I don't think they are. I don't think Gastonia is. I don't think Staten Island is.
I'd agree with those. High Point's the one where, I mean, like, technically speaking, I'm not sure they're allowed to show profit.
Right. They're a non-profit, but let's say breaking even then.
Yeah.
Where that's a maybe. When it comes, so hold on. So we'll say, I'm going to comfortably say that's Long Island, Lancaster. I'm giving benefit of the doubt to as many as I can. So I'm moving Long Island, Lancaster, York. I'll say Charleston. I'll say Hagerstown, and Southern Maryland might be close. Let's see, but Southern Maryland also is a overhead game, I think. Then when it comes to the Frontier League rather is one where I start to wonder. What do you think in the Frontier League? Because in the Frontier League, Schaumburg, Quebec, Tri-City, New York. Because here's my thing. I'm like, Evansville, do I think so? No. I think Florence could be.
I don't think so.
I don't think Florence is.
I'm going to work through I'm looking standing wise. I'm going to work my way down. Sussex.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're close, but
no,
I don't know if they do.
I think they're close. I think they're close.
I don't think they're losing much, but I don't think they're making money either.
The question is, what about Washington? I think Mississippi didn't, but Mississippi probably had a lot of expenditure this year, so we'll see what they look like next year. Ottawa's the one I'm questioning.
Settle it down. Let's just go through this one by one and work our way through this. New York, we already agreed on. New York, we agree.
The four that we agree: New York, Tri-City, Quebec, Schaumburg.
Okay. Down east?
No.
Okay. Are we thinking they're going to make money, or is this a constant loser?
That attendance was under 1,400 a game this year.
Constant loser. Got it. New Jersey, constant loser. Quebec, we said it's making money. Tri-City, we said it's making money. We get to the first questionable one, which is Ottawa. I think they're close. I kind of put them in the same tier as like Sussex. But then again, that's a big ballpark. It probably costs a lot more to operate.
I'd put Ottawa more likely than Sussex.
I would counter with this. Ottawa, actually I'm going to support what you said with what my next comment is opposed to countering it. They probably are because in Canada you are incentivized to undersell your number because you're taxed on what you report.
Interesting.
So I
Good
would
knowledge.
be willing to wager. Yeah. Brockton, losing money. Three Rivers,
Yeah.
losing money.
Yes.
Washington,
I'm interested.
Yeah.
So I got 3 that I have as question marks here, and Washington's the first of the 3.
I think they make money. I think they do well.
I think they do too.
Yeah. Lake Erie, I think is probably around break even. But that's more vibe casting than anything.
Yeah, that's about where I am with them too. And then and they were the other one. They were also in that 3 that I'm not sure about. So yeah, I can kind of meet you there.
Yeah, Florence, I think loses. Evansville, I think loses. Schaumburg, we said makes. Gateway is an interesting one. They do a lot of other stuff. I'd be willing to say they make money, but I don't think they're making huge profits. Mississippi, we agreed to start of expense, but I do think they give a chance.
Gateway's. See, I'm not sure about Gateway. I wasn't picking Gateway out.
I think they make a modest profit. I don't think they're making much. Joliet, Windy City. Windy City is an interesting one, but I don't know about them. And same thing with Joliet.
Yeah, no, Joliet's not.
Okay. America. I'm going to assume pretty much everyone in the Pioneer League.
How do we feel? So Evansville and Florence were the 2 question marks I still have.
Losing.
Got it. No, I'm sorry. Evansville wasn't. Evansville I know is losing. Let's see. American.
American wise.
All right. King County is making.
King County is making money.
Kansas City sounds really confident. Like the people in Kansas City are very confident the Royals are coming to Kansas. And I'm like, all right, Monarchs, you're up. Chicago seems to be making money.
Yeah, Chicago makes money. Lake Country, I think, does okay.
I think Lincoln's probably close to a break-even situation, which I think is maybe because I don't know. I don't know what their deal is.
Hold on. I'm going to the East.
With their attendance, they should. Oh, my bad, dude.
Yeah, I'm going from top to bottom, East and West. So Lake Country making money. Chicago making money. King County making money. Milwaukee's an interesting one. Because Cleburne, I'm certain, is losing money, and Gary, I think, is breaking even. They do decent numbers, and they don't have too much staff overhead.
The 3 I'm curious about are Kansas City, Lake Country, Milwaukee. I don't think Milwaukee. I don't know about Milwaukee, man.
Yeah,
Milwaukee has like other things going on. They have like other. I feel like they have other lines of revenue.
Yeah, I bite that the baseball team itself is a loser, but the overall enterprise is a winner.
I agree. And I'd be willing to say Kansas City, though not in the way they maybe should, like not as impressively as they should. I would say Kansas City.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about the way that team runs and monetary spending. Sioux City's losing. Sioux Falls, I think's losing. Fargo, I think's doing okay, but not great.
Yeah.
Lincoln, I put in the same boat, and Winnipeg's doing well.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
So,
and then
to the Pioneer.
It's easier just to pick out who's making money. I think that answers like Missoula and Oakland.
Oakland, Missoula. Yeah, I'm always curious about Ogden because it seems like they do good numbers, but then the things we hear around Ogden make me go, I don't know.
Yeah. That, and I'd be interested to see what Glacier's doing numbers-wise.
Boise is the other one with me. Because they put up good numbers. They seem to actually get those numbers too.
Sure.
Or at least something close, obviously. Glacier's interesting, but I have a feeling Glacier's business is not as well controlled as they like to put out. So I would say Oakland, Missoula, and then maybe one other out of the grab bag.
Yeah. So in total, how many is there?
That's 3. For the Frontier League, it's an additional 7. So it gives us 10. That's 6 American Association teams. So that's 16. And then 5 Atlantic League teams. So 21.
Honestly, it's more than I thought.
There's a way to do it. So the popular sentiment is that indie ball can be profitable. And in fact, there's because you're not getting a cut to MLB at all times, because you're not giving cut to MILB at all times, because you're not, you're free to make your own business decisions largely. And two, I guess it's just the mobility. Like you can kind of run the business you want to run, that there's a real opportunity for profit in actual indie ball. That the popular sentiment is the fact that the number of teams that currently are profitable is more of a reflection on their leagues and those ownership groups and how those teams are run. I recently, in the past week, had a conversation with somebody who, I'm trying to think what I can say. Okay. Somebody who used to work for Dime Baseball Holdings, is familiar with their business model and is familiar with what they look for. And they confirmed, in their words, indie ball teams that aren't making money, it's their fault.
Okay.
Like that was basically the view from within Diamond Baseball Holdings and other private equity companies. There are multiple paths and angles to profitability with an indie ball team. And those who are not doing it and are saying they can't do it have not adapted their models. And basically they pulled like 6 or 7 examples and sort of picked apart what they're doing and showed like, yeah, like that's not how a modern business person would go about running this team. They're trying to pull profit from the wrong things. They're trying to cut savings from the wrong things, things like that. So that is, the past 3 months have really, I think, changed the conversation around indie ball from being something where you go to fail or scrape by to being like potentially something we could make money. And looking at some of these teams now that we're several years out from contraction and from expansion, I think it does back that up. So that's going to be a bigger conversation throughout the off season. So feel free to look out for that. But I've now spoken to 3 different people within private equity companies looking at baseball teams about indie ball, and they've all shared that sentiment. What kind of things is Ryan up to while sick? Sketchy things.
All right, let's keep it going so we get to all these questions.
Right.
Can you get Bill Shipley on the podcast? I would like to hear his vision for the league and where he thinks the league is heading and where and if Bolton fits in. We certainly can try. I can't make a promise that we'll get him.
I sure would like to.
Hey, this is actually one we may have an answer for. Where are the salary caps in the core 4 leagues? I love that core 4 is catching on like verbal wildfire.
I know, baby.
Screw that partner league nonsense. Core 4 for life, boys. Let's get it.
And we're continuing to hear once again that teams are being told not to call them indie leagues. Die in a ditch, baby. We're calling it indie ball.
It is indie ball to a T. Yeah.
So nobody ever publicly confirms what the situation is. The Pioneer League has the weird situation where it's like depending on the state.
Yeah.
And like state minimums. And so it's been raised to like fit the California state minimum. Which is fun. Let me see. What do we have? I mean, so, the Atlantic plays ball around $55K per month. The American Association hangs, I'm just checking my numbers here, around 40,000 a month. It's like 164,000 a year, I think it was last season. The Frontier, I lack a little bit of depth when it comes to that. As I understand, it's a little less than the American Association, so somewhere not too far off, but they're more held by roster restrictions and things. Mm. And then you get your Pioneer League. So yeah, it's range from about 40K a month to 55K a month in the Atlantic League. And that's why, again, we talk about why the Atlantic League just has that gap to the American Association. They have an extra $15,000 a year to spend on their players $15,000 a month to spend on their players, which is, essentially an extra more than a third of the American Association.
There's like another 800 each guy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no roster restriction. So, that's It's just playing in a different situation essentially. But yeah, that's where they're looking right now.
Okay, yeah. So, is there any chance that the Frontier League might ease some of their roster restrictions regarding service time? I'm going to assume they meant Frontier and not American, because American would make more sense than Frontier, but it.
What do you mean? Oh, I understand what you mean, like strategically, based on where they're at. I actually do think every league has ongoing conversations as far as I understand. Like, I don't think there's any league that's not having discussions at all times about what the roster restriction situation is. I think the Frontier League, I wouldn't be surprised if they change it, but I wouldn't expect it being a huge change. Like, it would be something like the Pioneer League has done recently where they add an extra year and you can like throw in an extra, essentially veteran. In my opinion, that's not off of any.
Or just feel like a change from like, say you have to have like 8 rookies on there and then like 4 L1s and then like 3 L2s or whatever the hell. And then you get like 4 veterans, some crap. Yeah. It wouldn't be some major abolition of the structure.
Right. I mean, I've even heard, I'm trying to think. Yeah, this is no reason I can't say this. There was one guy who kind of workshopped with me. He's from a team within the Frontier League. Was workshopping with me. What would it look like if essentially every player had their experience level was like a number. So rookies are a 0 and then a 1 for the next level all the way up to 5 for a full veteran all the way out. And then the idea being that the question that he approached me with was how unmanageable, which I appreciate when you approach it that way. How unmanageable would it be if we operated off of your average number for your roster, experience number essentially was like a 3 or something. Honestly, it was much more manageable than you would think. It was fairly convenient.
It just depends on how you classify. Is it with the league or with another professional league? And how many games would we qualify that as? Are games in your league weighted heavier than games with other ones?
And that's also a quick way they can change things, is being like, hey, like actually you get an extra year and you're still qualified as whatever 2. So, keep an eye out. You know, I think that's an ongoing conversation across just about every league, but yeah, I think I'm into it. I like creatively. I like opening up a little bit. I like the Frontier League still has a younger crop. I think there's something very beneficial about that. And I think it's really good for the game. And I think there's a way to keep that while also still taking strides toward added experience. We're going to have a flood of inexperienced guys coming though, as the draft continues to shrink and potentially affiliated ball shrinks, and guys are going to be staying in college longer. So you're going to get better players coming out of college who aren't finding jobs in affiliated ball that they were hoping to find. So this is going to be, leagues are going to be getting younger and more talented. And that's also going to complicate the whole conversation. So just a preview for that. I've been texting a lot of people while sick.
I can imagine. Next one. Do you think that this podcast has prevented you from getting opportunities with an organization? Probably.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah.
Ain't that fun?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
In fairness, that kind of thing's going to come up sooner or later anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the process with the team and then they ghosted me, and then I heard through the grapevine that it was because like a few weeks prior, before I was even talking to them, I said something that was like vaguely critical, which so my position on this, and like, cause yeah, it is frustrating, right? Cause I do want to be back in, but here's my position on it. And I hope you're listening if this was you, cause there's actually a couple teams I know have split ways with me based on podcast, but or killed the process because of the podcast. Yeah. If there's a team that's so sensitive that they can't take, because we don't, for the most part, unless it's an organization, there are very few organizations that we just outright clown. For the most part, we're like, hey, like, we disagree with this. We don't like this. Here's why.
Yeah.
And we back it up. And if it's anything harsher than that, I'm already not talking to you anyway. If it's that and that is why you're upset, I don't want to work for you anyway. So I was kind of like, I'm glad I found out that it's the type of organization that's that sensitive before I even got there. Cause what I learned, in Lexington is it's not great to be the guy who comes in and goes, hey, we should be changing some things here because this business is barely surviving, because sometimes people get in their feelings about it. So we don't need sensitive organizations. We need fluid ones.
Follow up, would you cease doing the podcast to work with a team?
What about you?
It's a tough one, and I feel like the answer to that question really depends on the circumstance around it, right? Like, it would need to be something of value, and even then, I'd be real conflicted about doing it. I mean, I could see myself being open to doing that. I don't want to say no, I wouldn't, but it would need to be more than just like some low-level flunky job that's just a fancy title to sell shit. I would need something of actual value that has some actual decision-making authority to it. It would have to be with an organization that isn't going to be, micromanaging or a problem.
So I have historically struggled quite a bit with things like I froze doing content for a while there because I was talking like in the recent months because I was talking to a couple teams. And that's again, based on my experience. And now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm probably not going to do that again. I'm probably just going to say, well, I'm doing what I do. And if that's why you don't want to hire me, then I already know I don't want to work with you. However, I'll say when I went to Lexington, I did stop doing it. I was working not only in the marketing side, but also doing the baseball operations for the Legends. And I was uncomfortable potentially showing my cards. Cause at that time and still today, like I'm very data focused in certain things where I didn't want to show my cards. I didn't want to say, hey, here's our projected wins and show people that maybe I had something. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to show other teams what I have. I don't want to give a glimpse behind the math I'm doing. I don't want to show that I think other teams are trash and maybe wake them up a little bit. So I didn't know how to go about it. But with that, I also killed, I didn't talk about anything. I didn't talk about league news. I didn't talk about anything because I was uncomfortable with it. I'm in league calls. How can I then report on the league? And I'll say this, I regret it 100%. I got that job because I quit a job I hated and I attacked doing ALPB roundup like it was my full-time job. And I very quickly got another opportunity with another couple of offers as well. And I then immediately let it go. And it doesn't make sense that I would do that. Looking back now, I wish that I stayed on it. I wish I used the platform to be like, hey, here's a glimpse into like what my life looks like. Here's what being baseball operations looks like in the Atlantic League. Using that to connect with people, using it to promote indie ball. And then personally, if I'm honest, I also feel like I let go of a good bit of leverage, because remember, I was also the number one breaker of, stories among the Atlantic League at the time. Well, I think I probably am still, but like at that time, there was a legit concern that I would break a story about your organization being bad. And I feel like if I had that same standing, I probably wouldn't have been the first name off the tongue when it came to start cutting people because they weren't selling tickets. I think I probably could have actually helped my longevity there as well. But for multiple reasons, I wish I could continue to do it. So I'm trying to get better and more comfortable. Like instead of being like, well, it's uncomfortable for me to be applying for something or talking to players and also reporting on leagues in the way I do. So I won't do it. This year I'm sort of dedicating myself being more on top of being like, no, just be good at it. Just figure out how you want to do it and do it rather than backing away and doing this inconsistent content thing I've been doing for like literally since I started Lexington years ago now. So yeah, long answer there. Sorry. I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts on that topic. I regret it
because it's complicated here. Like that's the one thing that it's not as cut and dry as like, yeah, take the thing that's going to give you money from doing it. It's a matter of like, well, you have so many relations, so many things in the pot going on here that like part of you doesn't want to leave that behind, but then you also can't realistically do the job the same way because it's impossible to not step on toes and not have things be awkward and not have it affect the way you do one or the other. And then it puts you into a spot where like, I don't want to half-ass either thing here. I got to like pick one or the other, and then no matter what you pick, you kind of like, I should have picked the other thing.
Right. I mean, on the other side, it is, I don't know. You're right. But it is just one of those, it's hard for me to be like, yes, it's cost me a job. And yes, I really want a job. And also, I don't regret it at all. Like, it's kind of weird, and I understand that. And also, and then on the other answer here, I'm going, oh, yes, I do this. I stop doing content whenever I'm talking to a team. And also, I regret doing that and I'm going to stop doing that. So you know what? Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe don't listen to me at all. A couple loaded questions coming here.
Yeah. Thoughts on the Pioneer League?
Underachieving.
Yeah. We already
infinite potential.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we already talked about it, and we talked about them a lot, so I'm not going to beat it to death here. But they piss me off because they serve a very important niche. They should be more successful than they are. They have every potential to be successful if they want to be, but they keep getting in their own way, and it seems like they don't know what way they need to go forward. And it feels like what they really need to do is get everyone in a room, have a real heart-to-heart here about who's willing to be in for the long haul, who's not, and whoever wants to be here for the long haul, pick a vision and run with it. And I know it sounds real like Hollywood-esque, like just sort it out kind of thing, but genuinely, they need to pick a vision, and they need to find out who's on board with the vision and who's not. And if they're not, as much as it may suck to cut them, you got to cut them loose. Because right now, your legs caught up in the sails. So either you got to cut the leg, cut the line, or find a way, because the ship's going down with or without you on it.
Yeah, when it comes to my feeling on it, it's just, it's, you know, I know that they're still learning. They're still figuring this out. They're still a young league, like any other league in their first, essentially 5 years of existence here, because they can say they're as old as they want, but indie ball is a new game. If they were struggling, we understand that. However, they've stepped into such an important position. It feels like they almost don't take it seriously. And I know that's a very heavy thing to say. It's like, what do you mean we don't take it seriously? Of course, it's our business. You know, yes, but to not have a clear 5-year plan, step by step, one that can adapt, that's fine. You can change it. I'm not saying you have to stick to it the whole time, but it feels like from here all the way back to the start of this, there's been no 5-year plan other than whatever the original plan was with getting handouts from Major League Baseball. I just don't know. That's what frustrates me. I am more frustrated with the Pioneer League than any other league, because while every other league seems to be buttoning things up and getting more serious and locked in and a defined vision and understanding of who they are and what they're doing, I feel like somehow the Pioneer League keeps coming out with less of all of that. And it's like, guys,
it's very much, it's a lot of just like, we don't really know where we're going, but we know we can't stay here. So we're just going to try to do whatever we can to put ground between us and where we're at, which I understand. But again, that is not sustainable long term. You got to figure out a plan that's actually sustainable long term.
Yeah. If you need me, I'll be over here just doing stuff. And I'm like, I need you to do a little bit more than stuff, my friends.
Exactly.
Because you are paying, like, whether they asked for it or not, they are now a very important part of the indie ball ecosystem. And like, the ecosystem relies on them. They need to be there.
Yeah, I'm going to loop this into another question. It goes out of order, but it fits the theme, which is, why are you always so negative about the Pioneer League?
Because the Pioneer League can't take one step forward without taking 2 steps backward. And I know Oakland tends to get on me about being negative about the Pioneer League, but Oakland, you have to understand, you are one of 2. We just called you out as 2 teams that we would seem to guess are making a profit right now. Like, it's the line in Christmas Vacation, right? It's, look around you, Helen. We're at the threshold of hell. Like, this is, it's not like, why are you guys being so negative? Be cheery and positive. This isn't the time.
Yeah.
If your league manages to make 3 wrong decisions the next year, it doesn't exist anymore. By the way. And they'll say, well, the contract, this, that. By the way, it doesn't. The front office, the league's office has 3 people working in it. Like,
when you're afraid,
that's
like
why. Because it's spread over all these states. Because, A third of the league is in California, and the league's logo, which specifically names states, still doesn't name that state. That's why we're not positive about the Pioneer League. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, because 3 different teams disappeared this past year. One had to crash another one's ballpark because they completely flamed out after having shown signs of flaming out for 3 seasons, and everyone sounded the alarm, and the league did nothing. A soccer league, which is barely properly organized, flagged that ownership group and said, "You're done," a full year before the Pioneer League did anything about it. That's why. Oh, and by the way, the baseball team existed before the soccer team. So in far less time, USL 2 or whatever league they were in was like, this isn't going to happen. And the Pioneer League still said, well, as long as they're seemingly paying money and taking up a spot in the league and we are friends with them, because that seems to be how they decide who owners are and who runs teams, artists formerly known as Grand Junction. Yeah, and that guy still is, by the way, in one of the California orgs, I think Modesto or something. So yeah, that's why, guys, because we see the same idiots who ruin organizations then running other organizations, and the league is like, we know them, it's fine. Brother, it's not. And that's why. Okay.
I agree with Ryan.
Like, I love the Pioneer League. I think it's awesome. And I wanted to succeed, but goodness, what are we doing? Yeah, the pet sitter shot my dog last time, but he said he's free this weekend while I'm out of town, so might as well let him watch the new dog. What?
It was a difficult economic circumstance, Ryan. He won't shoot another dog.
It's a difficult economic circumstance. Grand Junction, what? They wanted you to pay your bills? Yeah, bud. Well, what, Windsor, the one that cut you all the tax breaks and gave you the 50 acres of land? Was that a difficult circumstance? Anyway, go ahead. I'm so mad.
Would now be a bad time to go to the question about what are some of the best and worst organizations to play for an indie ball?
Oh, I gotta get that survey up. That's right. I gotta see how my Spanish survey is coming.
Well, best are the ones you'll probably guess. There's obvious ones that are best and worst to play for that I think we kind of can skip over the obvious ones. Like,
don't go to Chicago, dummies. Sorry, I'm so mad. I'm going to sell that now. I'm being sassy and I'm done.
But we like sassy Ryan. Slay Queen.
No, I'm not going to be sassy. But
Oh,
just
on,
know
girl.
the reports out of Chicago are getting worse. So wait for that ticking time bomb. Oh God. Where? Okay. Where's good? Where's bad?
I mean, obvious good is Quebec. Obvious good, I'd assume, is Long Island. Really? 50-50 on Long Island.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, Long Island is like, if you fit the vibe, you fit the vibe. If you fit the vibe, you fit the vibe. But like,
like
it is the organization we think it is. No, if Long Island is run a certain way with a certain attitude. Mm-hmm.
Is it biased? So I
Trust
say
me.
Sussex is good.
Yes. Well, I don't know. It feels like we're hearing better things.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the facility. It is a nice facility. And there are dorms on site, so that's a plus. And dorms are actually pretty decent.
There's a certain 2-time champion I keep hearing bad things about.
Oh, yeah?
So maybe just be cautious around certain Pennsylvania markets.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask East or Central.
I hear Lancaster's a good place to be.
Well, those Amish, they have quality construction on all their projects.
The Staten Island's a good vibe, but you got to live local to get there. It sounds like from what we've been hearing from multiple people. Hagerstown's a great spot. I have never heard a bad thing about playing in Hagerstown. So Hagerstown's a good spot. Southern Maryland is TBD. Gastonia is usually pretty good. High Point's usually pretty good. Lexington is a mixed bag, and Charleston I probably wouldn't do. But sorry, PJ.
Missoula I hear is good. Glacier I hear is good.
Yes, the dudes in Glacier love that place.
Yeah,
I hear.
I mean,
Lake
that whole
Country's not
facility
bad.
is great, though.
King County's good. Milwaukee's nah,
Mixed
wouldn't
bag.
say. Cleburne's a mixed bag. Gary is a mixed bag.
Gary's drawback is you gotta live in Gary.
Yeah, Sioux City.
Mm.
I've heard some guys from Kansas City didn't enjoy it. The guys who like Fargo a lot. Sioux Falls, same thing. I wouldn't go to Lincoln. Lincoln is not even aggressively pursuing a manager from what I hear right now, and they don't have a manager, and it's almost the new year. So stay probably away from that. And Winnipeg seems to be a vibe.
Yeah, I hear everyone.
That's fair.
Winnipeg.
Yeah. Frontier League, what do we got? I think when we're saying good ones, obviously the ones, Boulder seemed to be a good arrangement. Tri-City, depending on how you feel about running.
In fairness, they do fielding and batting drills as well.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Guys in Florence seem to like Florence. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of hard info.
Yeah, a lot of them I don't hear anything about. Washington, I think, is pretty good too. I haven't heard anything negative about them.
Agreed.
They seem to be pretty professional. Oh, Jersey, here's the thing, right? Like, old regime, steer clear. Steer clear.
Still steer
New
clear.
Regime,
what are you talking about?
Mixed bag. That being said, New Jersey, let me finish.
No.
Let me finish. Let me cook. That being said about Jersey, they are one of the few organizations I have actively heard MLB people, like scouts and organizations, go, do not go to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Go to the Pioneer League before you go to Jersey, brother. Do not go to Jersey. So, depending on what your ambitions are, that's something that's pretty important to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So there you go. There's some highlights.
Yeah.
And then I'll be doing the survey soon. I have a survey mostly put together and ready to roll, but I'm waiting for the Spanish version to be sort of completed so I can get a good, well-rounded look at things. But it will be basically the way the NFLPA does surveys for players about their organizations. That's kind of the same thing I'm working on.
I guess keeping with the kind of negative theme here to wrap up really the last negative ones.
Sure.
So we can finish on a high note. How many teams will fold in 2026?
Fold, So we'll say fold being any. I feel like the three Colorado teams really sort of encapsulated all the fold type thing. Because Grand Junction had a disagreement with their city and left. Rocky Mountain just seemed to be like, I would rather do business elsewhere, and left. And NOCO could not physically hang. I think those are the three versions of fold. I think we'll define it that way.
Yeah, not participate in 27. That's kind of how I take it.
Yes. I mean, I think none of the big three leagues.
Yeah, no, I think they're all pretty good. I would keep a hesitant eye on the usual ones that are hemorrhaging money, but most of them either under new ownership or I don't think would go anywhere.
I would look for an potential ownership change with Evansville soon to keep them rolling in a better direction. But other than that, I don't know. That's no insider information. I can't see that continuing the same way for long. But so that really brings us to the Pioneer League. I presume the Marysville experiment will continue, but boy, are those attendance numbers abysmal. You got, Ogden is always crying poor, which I assume they are. And then you have Idaho Falls, who can't pay bills. Is that the one?
They're one of them.
Yes. And which ones do you have off the top of your head?
I have to go back to go through each of them, but there was about 5 that couldn't pay. I think 3 of them folded.
Yeah.
So I can remember Great Falls, I think, was struggling at times too.
Yeah, it might have been it.
I am curious about Long Beach. They're new and they have money in the bank, but I think that's going to be a very expensive tab at the moment. So
I agree. I wouldn't.
Whether they get to 2030 or not is a question of mine.
Yes, I agree.
26 and 27 will be safe, but everything after that, I think is a crapshoot.
Right.
Yeah, I think everybody else is very safe.
Maybe 1.
Yeah,
I'll say 1.
Yeah, I'll also throw out here Cleburne. I think is one we often overlook, but they change hands a lot because it gets expensive.
Yeah.
And their future is really tied to a lot of things that
cleaner.
Yeah, especially if Kansas City becomes an issue. Ooh. Yeah. That gets spicy quickly.
If Kansas City becomes an issue, I could definitely see a move. Kansas City make a move out west, and then Texas and Cleburne and then maybe that's when we see the Minnesota organization just pop in and take that spot or something.
Because that was supposed to happen 426, but then something fell
Mhm.
through on that.
Yeah.
So I don't know the full details there, but that is something that I do know of. Let's see if we got any rapid fire ones here coming off of some longer ones. Not sure. Did you answer about the posting the final rankings?
Wait, where were we?
You crossed out the final ranking one here, but I don't know.
Didn't mean to. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We can do. Oh God, I don't know. Can we do that at this point? Objectively, we'll try.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and say you could try. Look at Ryan. He's writing it down too, using handwriting and everything. Isn't he studious?
We're at the stage of the sickness where I'm now wearing pullovers from high school.
He's had to burn the rest of the clothing to prevent the infection from spreading.
For real.
Yeah, that's what
Smallpox
happens.
pullovers.
That's what happens when you get HIV. Now,
that's like an underground grunge baseball operations band, like punk band, theme punk band. Smallpox pullovers. That joke hit for like 2 people out there, and you're welcome.
can you bring Mike Pinto back on the show to talk with Joliet? I actually have been meaning to talk to Mike because he reached out and I didn't get a chance to respond.
We gotta
and now it's
get
been
him
a
before
while.
he goes to jail. Where he does his stint in the pen with that exhibition game.
No, we can try to get him there.
Yeah.
Another one here. Is this the year Quebec goes down? Hell no, it isn't. Because
no, I will
life
never
is
say
cruel.
that publicly.
Life
Good
is
Lord.
cruel. Quebec always wins. Pay your taxes. These are things that will occur. Unless you want to make a fuss.
Guys, who are we talking about here? Here's my thing. The moment I saw the clip of them eating poutine out of the trophy, I said, oh, they could win this until they don't want to. Okay.
Dude, I remember seeing all of them posting things after they won, and they revel in the fact that they're like, everybody hates the fact we do this every year. And guys, I'm like, this gotta be the end of the line for them, right? Like, there's no way they're gonna do it. Come back. They're just like, nah, I like watching everyone get pissed off too much to give this up.
I would put this out there, and we'll talk plenty more on Cleveland, good Lord, on Quebec. So we don't need to go too in depth, but my quick answer is I maintain the thing they're best at is their long-term player management and their roster management, in that they have such a good understanding of the restrictions they're dealing with that they just have a plan long-term that is they are always a step ahead of everyone else. And I think a lot of people are striving to do what Quebec is doing currently. And by the time they reach that, Quebec is already doing the next thing. And I think that's sort of the cycle we're in. Additionally, we look at, like, they've had a couple close calls. Like, I don't think they look as impressive this year as they have in the past.
Yeah.
For some teams, that makes me go, well, here we go. There's cracks in the armor. We don't say the other word anymore. It's cracks in the armor. I do personally, looking at the way Quebec has won these titles, they have kind of done it with an overarching theme the same way. Roster depth, good understanding of what they need to navigate playoff series, things like that. But they've also done it in multiple different ways. They face different types of challenges. And what they've shown is they can literally do it different ways. If it was the same team running it the same way every single time, running over every other team in the same exact fashion, okay, just beat them at that. They have done it. It's just, they have shown they can do it in multiple ways. So yeah, I'm done on being like, oh, this is the year Quebec loses. And by the way, if they do lose, can you imagine the fresh hell they're bringing back in 2027? Oh,
that's
God.
Genuinely the scary part, though.
They're showing up on a Zamboni.
Like, that's when they just casually like, yeah, so we found one of the striking MLB dudes, and we just decided to say, screw it, man. Like, let's see what he could do.
Today on terrorism.
Really. The true enemy up north. Now, into some deeper thought conversation. Can we explain the difference between the leagues? Some more basic beginner type questions here. That we're gonna have a couple of these in a row as a heads up. Yeah, I guess I can give the overview and then go from there. So I less view them as 4 distinct and more just in different groupings. Atlantic American are more like end stage leagues. That's where you have your older guys, your more talented guys are going to go there. Atlantic being the taller order of the two. They're just by virtue of salary. We went over salary cap reasons, roster reasons earlier. That would be why they're kind of ranked ahead, more premier in the East type of thing here. But generally speaking, you could get comparable talent, I guess would be the best way of describing it. Not one for one, but comparable in the American as well. In the American as well. And they're more the mainstay in the Midwest. Frontier, just more overarching, and it's kind of like the next step up from your Pioneer, which is really more your entry level league. It's also a little bit difficult to judge things just because of the hitter environments, although that's become less exaggerated over time here, but it really is, your younger guys, like I'd say 25 and younger is really where they're catering to, whereas Frontier is probably more like that 24 to 26, 27 range, and then the rest of them are all more like 27 and up. These are guys that are very clearly like, my goal now is, I don't want to say not to make the show. Everybody wants to make the show. Mm-hmm. Everyone would like to get into a team's pipeline so they have a shot at it. But you're thinking realistically like, hey, if I can get to Mexico, if I can get to Korea, if I could get to Japan from here, that's a victory. That's a good paycheck for me. And that gives me a chance to, play in probably the closest I will realistically get to a major league environment in my career. So realistically, I'd say to summarize that, you have the Pioneer League, that's an entry-level league, the Frontier, that's that next step up league, and then the American and Atlantic, which are kind of the, premier leagues, if you would.
I think it's fair. I don't have much else to add on that one. I'll let you take full credit.
Yay, full marks. Another beginner question here. What are some of the basics that newbies should know about indie ball? First off, that is completely separated from any MLB organization, even though they try to push that partner league crap.
So I was actually going to go about this a little bit differently, which is, as I do also don't believe there's a lot of people who are listening to this who don't know what indie ball is. So let me, if I may take a spin on this, this question. How do you describe indie ball to your friends or potential fans, right? And what I do is I usually go about it as, Major League Baseball, and then almost everybody goes, yep, gotcha. And then, minor league baseball. Most everybody goes, yes, I understand there's a concept of it where, and you can always go, so, the Phillies or your local team, the Mets, if you're uncultured, they have multiple teams below them who all sort of work as a ladder, developing talented players to then get to the level of Major League Baseball. And they go, okay, understood. I got you. You go, well, there are, certainly more great baseball players than would fit on just even 150 or so teams. So for various reasons, guys end up outside of that ladder structure these teams have. And they end up playing for other high level professional teams in their own leagues, in the independent leagues. And those guys can at any time then have their contract purchased from their team to go then join somewhere along the ladder of those affiliated teams. So that's how I usually try to explain it. And that usually is how they get it. And then from there, it's explaining how good is the quality. And then I usually start with the Atlantic League. And I say, well, the Atlantic League is about between that AA level, AAA level. And then, you're right about there. Well, the AA-ish level, you got the American and then yada, yada. So you kind of go from there. So that's how I usually approach it. Is that how you usually go about it?
Honestly, at this point, I've, belabored that to just about everyone in my orbit. So I don't really have to, but I kind of just go, it's like minor league ball, but these guys have to play to win. They're not really trying to develop. They're just trying to win.
That's a really good point, because I do try to work that in at some point, because in the end, it comes down to, okay, so what is, as a viewer, as somebody who is likely you're trying to get to go to the game, or is somebody who is like, hey, I'm about to see like a Lancaster game. What is this? bring it home to, so as a fan, what it means is these players are also trying to eventually maybe go somewhere else. However, unlike these other teams where they're just trying to work up the ladder, Lancaster, for this example, is just trying to win baseball games for the name on the front of the jersey for Lancaster. And that's a really cool, I like to try to express that to them. You're playing for the town, you're playing for the stadium, and the fans in it, that type of thing. And I think that usually tends to drive it home a little more. And frankly, if you're trying to sell people on it, contrast it to the fact that everyone, I always go back to, a buddy of mine who was managed and affiliated. He's like, it does not matter if there's a no-hitter going. That guy's done after 70 pitches. I do not care. And meanwhile, in indie ball, we've seen some crazy stuff in the pursuit of things or even when, we've seen some crazy stuff when it's just like, hey, we need you to not use another bullpen guy. And someone will be like, I'll throw 130 pitches. Ill-advised, but still, that's the type of thing we got going on.
There's two examples I always love. And I believe one was Brett Helton, I think it was Brett, who threw 154 pitches in a playoff game and then pitched a couple of days later. And I was like, you just shot your arm for the next 6 months doing that. Baller. And then the other one, because this is the only time I've seen a no-hitter in person. It was Jorge Tavares. I was right with that. Mm-hmm. He threw a 9-inning no-hitter, struck out 16, and it was a 7-1 final. He walked 6, including walking a run in.
Yes.
And if I have it right, I wish I could find the box score quickly so that way I could, oh, no, found it. Good. Thank God for Wikipedia. It was 147 pitches.
Jesus.
147 pitches. Walked 5, struck out 16, surrendered 1 run, and a 7-1 victory.
Yeah, and I think there's something to emphasize too of yes, I mean, it's all about winning the game, but also that doesn't matter to everybody also. You can also just be and all the rigidity of, Major League Baseball and getting everything improved just doesn't exist. So you can do more fun stuff. I bring up the examples of now Joliet playing that game in the prison. I bring up examples of just the odds and ends, those funny things that just happen around indie ball and just roll with that. I love the Bryce Hensley one of just Bryce Hensley was an active country music singer who was going to play shows, whose starts were being scheduled around his shows for, I think, multiple seasons. I mean, this is stuff that, and he was getting results, by the way. Let's not pretend. The end of his career, his numbers crept up. He put up numbers during that time. So,
which is why he was allowed to do that.
All of this is relevant. It all paints the picture because in the end, indie ball is baseball in its most authentic. Baseball started as a group of guys playing ball and and you know what? Are they the weirdest ones? Yeah, they are. Could they get work outside of a carnival? Probably not. And that's fine. But at the same time, it's about the stories and the people involved. It's about the front office staff who have all these various paths to this thing, and the paths to the on-field product are just as varied. It's beautiful. It's not the way that affiliation and the development pipeline that goes to MLB, as beautiful as it is, and as much as it's the dream, it whitewashes and makes everything have to go through one channel. And indie ball says, I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're coming from. I'll meet you there. And that's why indie ball is the best.
And you never know when you'll find a random state rep that'll just go out. And
thank you. That was the one I couldn't remember. I brought him up. I brought up Schulten at dinner last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Because I got the question just last night talking about, wait, what is it you're covering again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I will still stand by my initial thoughts on that. You cannot get walked down by some mid-30-year-old politician in Milwaukee. That's damn embarrassing.
That's on you, yeah.
I still believe
Milwaukee had the opportunity to end that story in 2 innings, and they did not.
I still am a little pissed off about that. Not because I wanted to see Jade JD fail. It was more like, boys, this reflects badly on all of us that you were allowed to be mowed down like this. I am team anti-bad optics. Now, it turned into a good story, and I give the association credit for that. But, like, I thought for so certain, I was like, oh, dear God, we're going to fight Gong Show.
It was a bad optic.
Yeah. We were so close to, like, oh, no, Gong Show.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But,
let's get this home.
We got 4 more left here. And quite frankly, I think there's one I'm about to throw out. I'm not sure about you, but I kind of want to just do a whole episode on it because we're going to get into the dead part of the offseason soon. How would you design?
I think I know the one.
Yeah.
Yes.
How would you design a league?
Shelved.
How would you?
You're getting your own episode.
Yeah. What cities? How many teams? What names? How many games? Because I have an interesting idea there. And actually, instead of checking that, I'm going to highlight it so that way when I refer back to this later on, I will know.
I just started an Out of the Park baseball where I'm just starting my own league from like scratch. Just own indie league from scratch. Baby step. Basically, it's the USPBL to start. So I'm locked and loaded. Literally, I'm debating whether I want to do a series on it, but I don't think I will. But we'll see.
Yeah. One thing I'll say on this, because I want to leave the discussion for the episode we do this on, but I want to kind of take a hybrid of an idea that I believe you put in my head here about an abridged actual season schedule and build it off. Take like 6 teams. I still want to do different ballparks for travel and everything, but playing only, say, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, having an open practice on one day, some sort of community scrimmage another day, having one more just basically drill development day with an off day in there.
Yeah.
And building off of that. And essentially it's a 30-game slate, but there are realistically 3 other development days in there or community engagement days in there.
Yep.
Where you start to create it as more of an actual event to go there, while also having enough of a supply where people can get to there, but having a reliable schedule where it's like, okay, these are the days we have to keep open, and you just hack off the days that don't make money, but you still keep the option for doing camp and event day games for when you need to via the scrimmage and whatnot, because let's be real, for those camp days and whatnot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it feels like that. Plus, you're able to play more into we can develop guys because, and I will let that lead into a development question here, which I don't know if it got checked off or not. No, it is not because it's a non-indie ball question, but it leads in with this, with the future of the player development. By having days like that where you can say, we're going to try to develop the player and build them up more, you can help fight off Ryan, can you finish the sentence of which organization I'm going to say? I was looking for Driveline, but all right.
Oh, never mind. That's funny that those 2 things actually could both answer that question.
Yeah. Like, I just see the Driveline people, and I go back to the one conversation we had in the past, too, where you're just like, at some point, guys are just going to say, screw playing, because they're going to get hurt and they're not getting signed from it. And just go to Driveline and do basically COVID era scouting, which is, here's my Driveline numbers. Here's a video of me throwing.
My quick answer is the future of player development is currently college baseball. The NIL money is going to go somewhere. Only so much of it is going to be allowed to go to players. So they're going to start to pimp out the data systems. The top SEC programs are all going to have Traject systems, which is a massive, massive financial undertaking and like a massive advantage. That's the system where you can basically put in anybody's pitch and it'll project the guy throwing it and then it'll come at you. The indie ball has lost that. They messed up. I think the new opportunity would be if you can position yourself to be one of a few indie ball teams who can prove yourselves as a reliable development spot for guys post college. I think that you can become a main stop for teams looking for talent and also then become the main option for guys looking to get noticed. I think there is just an additional opportunity for a team to set themselves apart. I think it's unfortunate. Indie ball should have been that opportunity, not college ball, but it is what it is. I'm not going to harp on it any more than I have. When it comes to the last piece of this, though, the future of when it comes to the player development, and you're talking about Driveline and all that, what people, I think if I can sound an alarm real quick when it comes to the future player development, if it's going to be college baseball, right? The younger guys coming up are going to be very talented. However, that means a lot of them are going to get picked up into these organizations. There's going to be less spots because they're shrinking MILB still.
Mm-hmm.
More of these college guys are filling spots. That means there's going to be less spots for these contract purchase guys. And I've been trying to sound that alarm to some leagues to be like, hey guys, like that contract purchase money you're getting is going to dry up. And you can't make up for that by raising the cost of a contract purchase because they just won't go to you anymore for contract purchases. And I think indie leagues need to start waking up to that, or else they're going to be really in trouble. And like, I think if there's one thing I can say on this podcast, I wish would go everywhere, it's that is what we need to be paying attention to. Literally going to tweet it now because it's bothering me.
You know, it's funny. The next question, and penultimate question, mind you, is biggest missed opportunity in indie ball right now.
It's player development. They should have been on it so much sooner, and I don't think they can catch up now. It's over. So they've been beat by the college baseball is the most underserved college sport, and all of a sudden now it's starting to get them the attention and the money. So
yeah, I am trying to think where I would go with that. I may not go the development route. I almost feel like fan engagement wise is currently being an area where it's really missed out on.
Yes.
I think you're seeing a lot with our favorite organization that's not indie ball and the Bananas there, that like just the general atmosphere you're able to conjure at a ballpark from seemingly nothing is, really quite admirable there. And there's so many things that you could do that isn't carnival like that can get that atmosphere there. And I feel like there is a missed opportunity on that front. Just some really conservative thinking that needs to change.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have no notes on that.
So that brings us to the final question, which is more of an open-ended question here, which is, of course, any topic you want to discuss but haven't gotten the chance to. I assume that means both today and in general. Is there a topic that you wanted to go into more depth on?
Oh God. How long do we have? Yeah. I mean, I constantly have a list, and I have a list of things. I try not to view them as regrets, but it's things I want to get into, and I have not had the chance to. Dime Baseball Holdings video, Quebec deep dive, every win for I'm just looking through my next 20 videos I want to do. There are deep dives. Every Empire State win, how you could build a program that would automatically select pitches based like kind of what the Miami Marlins doing at the end of the season last year. Scoregami for baseball, the history of the Wild Health genomes, a deep dive into the Chicago front office. Hi guys, history of travel teams, whatever happened with that York vandalism situation where their field got burned up. A deep dive into the Black Sox. I have a strike land project back, looking at like a what if type 1995 thing, which I've been working on forever. I got to get back into it, finish. Yeah, man, I'm all over it. Yeah, I'm a disaster. Oh, a deep dive into the Maryland Fall League, which happened. That happened. There was a Fall League that played in Delaware. It was a disaster. Stubby Clapp was there. I saw it with my eyes.
With your eyes?
With my eyes.
I'm sure there's something. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's something in there that I've wanted to discuss at some point in time that I just totally either forgot to or never had the opportunity to bring up. So
my entire life is regrets, baby.
Hell yeah. And that brings us to the end of the Q&A. Or what a successful Q&A it is, was, will be, has been. Plug time.
Indie Ball Nation on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, podcast platforms, should be, because I only do normal content. Once I feel better, I should be doing a deep dive tier ranking of every Hallmark movie that came out this year, and then back to normal content. And by normal content, I mean whatever the hell I usually do.
Nice. Indie Ball Pod, Twitter, Indie Ball Report, everywhere else on all major pod platforms. So subscribe wherever you'd like. Going to try to get back into making some videos, mainly like the short ones I have been doing. I kind of like the idea of, as I write down a thing that's going to be on the show, just doing like a short 2-minute video on it for initial thoughts and then discussing it on the show later on. I kind of vibe with that. I feel like it's a good management system. That, or just grabbing games at random to talk about during the season, where it's just like, yeah, so I watched this game last night, and here's what I thought about it.
Yeah,
that kind of a thing.
I know.
So
I did that last week a little bit, and it was a ton of fun. I should do it again.
And to the people that are concerned on Instagram, I am perfectly fine. It's just I have not been on the Indie Ball Instagram in about 3 weeks. I just have no real desire to like actively manage social media right now. It's just not what I want to do with my free time. So I've just been ignoring it, and it's the off season, so I'm not terribly concerned with managing it anyway. So that's all there is to it. So any parting thoughts for us as we leave off the final episode in 2025?
Thanks for listening and supporting this crazy podcast, guys. It is the highlight of my week regularly, and I have a ton of fun. And thank you, Nick, for having me.
Aw, babe.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. I'm happy to have you. I enjoy doing this show significantly as much as it is a slow march to death. And,
yes, it is.
you know, got to keep doing it indefinitely until someone lets me run their team. Let me run a team. It'll either go in the ground or it'll be perfect. Pioneer League, what do you have to lose? The answer is nothing. We'll be back to the regular scheduled stuff next week. Yeah, so likely an interview next week, but until 2026 and until next time, don't forget to play ball.